Yeah, definitely trigger happy now because I've just decided to do a little bit more to this one, having just signed off from a second video. But I thought I may as well turn on the video, sure, there's no harm having it turned on. I've still not eaten my porridge nor done my yoga, but I did have a swim and took Lily to school, and I actually did a meditation in the car, so a few boxes ticked there now, which makes me feel good. My value for the day, which is one of my big values in life, is beauty. So maybe once I've signed off from here, I might set the table for myself nicely with some flowers and prepare a beautiful setup for my breakfast, which will really be lunch because it's nearly 1 o'clock. I don't tend to feel hungry until the afternoon, but then I could eat all day long. Well, I could eat late at night, which is maybe not great because then I get a new lease of life and I feel like I want to stay up and do all the things. There's something about gulping down life, wanting to really experience all of it. And I think that kind of attitude is a kind of scarcity thinking built into it, because it feels like I'm trying to grasp at stuff before. I just remembered I was going to not do any more to this painting. I just made the argument for why I wouldn't do any more. But this Gerbera to me was kind of calling for attention then after I said that. So I'm just trusting that it'll work out okay. So I'm trying to find the shape of the Gerbera that I'm looking at in this setup in front of me here. So I'm making some changes to the one that was painted in the workshop. This is a demonstration painting from a workshop. Summer school that I gave at Kenzie there in August. It was good. I enjoyed that. It was like, it was fairly full on because we started with watercolour portraiture for 3 days and then we had flower painting for 2 days. And the flower painting can get really messy. So there was a lot of cleaning up to do at the end, but it was lovely. I think if I'm doing it again, I'll probably stick to like I used to before lockdown. I used to have a week watercolour portraiture and a week, I think I've maybe only done that once, and a week of flower painting. But I like the idea of it because it means you can fully focus on one thing and one thing only, and then move on. But I think that people enjoyed the summer school because you could have a shot at both. So, who knows? Right, what am I going to do now? I suppose I could do the centre there. The dark centre of the Gerbera seems to be the next most dominant thing. It's not all dark, but there's some parts that are very dark in there. So I'm using ultramarine blue mixed with alizarin crimson to describe some of the edges where the petals meet the centre of the Gerbera flower, and also where the petals are divided. So there's a dark edge between some petals, like here there's a dark line dividing some of the bright petals from each other. And as I noticed that the centre there is significantly darker than the petals beyond it, so that's quite helpful to notice. There's a little wall of petals standing up here that I can deepen with the blue and alizarin crimson, and it's helpful to do that because what I want to do is emphasize the light on the petals, and in order to do that, it's necessary for me to find the darks and really identify them so that the brighter parts will stand out fully then. So here we have another dark petal in here. I'm kind of trying to be careful not to pick up the white background. And then there's a shadow on this one that's quite dark too. Where else? Yeah, over here. That's quite dark there. There's a triangle where the shadow is cast from the bright petals onto the petals underneath it. And then that little background colour there, and here's another bright red. So I'm changing brush now so that I get hopefully a nice clean brush. I was saying I was painting at the shore yesterday in Port Seaton, and the brushes are covered, well, I washed them, but some of them still have a bit of boat, that weathered colour of boats, where I've let some of the colour get a bit dirty on the palette and in the brushes. Anyway, so this brush is clean, and I like to use different brushes for different colours. So I've got one brush with white on it, one brush with yellow, and this brush now is going to have the red, so that I don't have to worry so much about keeping clean and washing them in between moves. Now, where was I going to go with this? I think I was going to go... Alright, so that's that shadow there. And then there's a flower that's right beside that shadow. There's a flower petal, it's right beside that shadow. And then there's one over here, separate from it. And there's one in front of that that's nice and bright too. I'm turning the brush now so that I can capture the other ones. There's one here. And pick up a bit more paint. I'm holding the brush loosely. And then there's one that, if it were to be drawn across, would divide the centre in two. There's one just below it. A bright one to meet the dark shadow there. It's casting the shadow probably onto the petal below it there. Sure, why don't I try and bring you a bit closer, for goodness sake? You'll be saying I can see nothing. Back to using the iPad again. I had used the phone for one of them. Right, so hopefully you can see a bit more of the action there now. I don't know. I used the phone for one of the videos because I thought the camera might have been clearer on it. And just for a change and to try it out. See if it had enough memory, and it did. So it's uploading to YouTube now, and it'll be that one below it that was on that. So the first Gerbera was painted and being videoed by the phone. This is cadmium red that I'm laying on as smoothly as I can for the petals that are extending into the light. So I've got a good ridge of thick cadmium oil. Now that V there was done in acrylic beforehand, and I want to cover it because there's petals there now. So I know that it's dry because it's the acrylic layer from the demonstration there. But there's actually a band of petals that are together here. And the dividing spaces are different from what they were in the one that was in the workshop demonstration. So I'm making this Gerbera metamorphose into the one I'm looking at now from the one I was looking at then. Geez, I made that very complicated. But I'm assuming you get me. Okay, there's some change to be made to this bundle here. When I half close my eyes, it seems like there's light bright petals back there, and there's some darks in here that I'll need to use the alizarin for later on. And then a couple of petals that are curving away from me that aren't quite that bright, but I just want to place them as I see them. And those ones too. And then there's one that's extending up here, thin. And there. Yeah, and I want to change something of the carry-on that's happening here. There's some ink underneath that needs to be worked over. Okay. Yeah, I do think I need a bit more of the dark red and blue mix. So I'm going to carve, it's like a hammock carving underneath that petal there. Dark hammock. And then there's the tips of these two gerbera that are, these two petals that are sitting in front of the others, not as dark as I've made them now, so I'm mixing some of the red into them. But they're sitting in front of the brighter petals. And there's a kind of a dark edge to that one that might help to explain it a bit better. I'll go back to the bright red now so that I can identify the edge of that petal a bit better. It was carved more than straight. And back here too there's some light falling underneath there. And again, I think there's some dark at the edge of this petal. It's funny, but right at the edge where it meets the light, it seems to go a bit darker. It's like it's bent up a little bit, so it's not catching the light quite as much. And I wanted to create some sculptural edge for that area, so it's helped me. And I think I might do the same here. Now we're on to the issue with the center of the sunflower again. And I think again it's got light cadmium red dots. I'm going to see if I could just press the edge of the brush in to capture that. This is painted on mount board, so it's not attached to anything hard. So it's kind of moving every time I touch it, but it's alright. Right, and the center is darker again. It's got more of the alizarin crimson in the center there again. So now that I put on some light, I want to re-establish the dark in the center here too. It's not quite as dark as the stuff all the way around the edge, but nearly. In fact, I could do with putting some more. Where's the light? Here. I could do with putting some more of that speckledy carrion over on this side to divide between the wall of dark petals that are standing up and the center. I mean, it's not that bright now really, but I thought if I put it down first then I can adjust it, make it less angular as well. Okay, I want a shot of dark right into the center now. This is one bit that's really quite dark, right in the middle. It's just dark blue really I've been using for that. And then if I look to the back of the flower where the stem meets the flower, there's a significant dark green here. So I'm mixing sap green with the blue that I had on the brush. The blue was ultramarine blue, that's what I had on the brush in order to define the red petals from each other. This is actually the same gerbera as that one, I just turned it towards me a bit more. I was looking for the line of least resistance to keep going, because I had the inspiration to keep going. Now what I'm doing is wanting the stem to extend in such a way that it reads as though I could enter the jug, because in actual fact it goes down a bit more steeply. know what to do about that now, whether to create a leaf in front of that or not. No, I think I just want to leave it nondescript. Mostly dirty brushes sitting where I can reach them. Alright, I think that's it. So, I'll bring it a bit closer. What am I trying to do? There. That's that one. And that was the flower that I was looking at. I don't know if we can see it there, the one on the far right. From my angle, it reads as that. Okay. I'm not going to look at you now because I'm kind of manoeuvring things here. But thanks very much. All the very best for your day, and stay tuned. Bye.